Let's catch you up on the latest news and injuries up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Monday, July 21st. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and another weekend goes by. Scott, we have more injuries and more third base injuries. So, Isak Paredes placed in the IL with a right hamstring strain. Alec Boehm to the IL with a fractured left rib. The most obvious replacements, names we've talked about a lot, Addison Barger and Noelvi Marte, and Royce Lewis for that matter too. He would be thrown out of the list. Four other names that, a little bit more available than the others. Colt Keith, Jorge Polanco, Caleb Durbin, and Brady House. Scott, do any of those third base replacements stand out to you?
Well, I do want to throw in a good word for Royce Lewis here, just because he had shown nothing really all season, but especially since coming back from his own hamstring injury. But then he had 2-homer game Sunday, right? It was just Sunday?
Yeah.
At Coors Field, so that's worth noting. But they weren't cheap shots. They would have been home runs regardless of the venue. And so hopefully Lewis is getting back on track. We know there's must-start kind of upside there with him. Though I would put him behind Barger and Noelvi Marte. Still, Barger especially, he had a big weekend too. Of the other names you listed, the more available ones here, I would say, obvious. Well, maybe it's not obvious, but Colt Keith has shown us a lot here recently. Trying to remember all the names you said.
Colt Keith, Polanco, Caleb Durbin, and Brady House.
Yeah, Polanco. I wanted to throw in a good word for him too, because earlier this season he wasn't able to play against left-handed pitchers because he had, I believe it was an oblique injury impacting his right-handed swing. He's a switch hitter. But he started to play against lefties again. Not quite playing every day, but capable of playing every day. And now that he's started to pick things up again, I think we could see him start to play every day. And I know I like the Mariners matchups for this upcoming week. In fact, I have them as the fourth best. So that's probably going to make Jorge Polanco my next choice after the top three of Barger, Noelvi Marte, and Royce Lewis.
All right, next up, Freddie Freeman left Sunday after getting hit by a pitch on his left wrist. X-rays came back negative. He's day-to-day, but he has also struggled mightily since the start of June, Scott. This could be an opportunity to get Freeman out of your lineup if you have a serviceable backup. What do you think about sitting Freddie Freeman this upcoming week?
I get it. It sounds like he dodged a bullet here with getting hit on the wrist, so let's state that up front. Was a sense of relief that the Dodgers seem to be expressing with no fracture there. And so I don't expect it's going to put him on the IL. But he has been struggling since the start of June. Remember, he entered June hitting like 375. So to some degree, this just was like inevitable because that is an impossible batting average to sustain. But he's been also striking out close to 30% of the time. I think it's like 28% of the time since the start of June. And that's definitely uncharacteristic for Freeman. He has been playing banged up all year. I'm generally not in the business of reactively sitting studs when they're struggling. But since there are physical issues going on with Freeman, I'll at least hear the argument. I do think you'd need to have a great alternative at first base, like Jonathan Aranda, Michael Busch, you're probably starting already, but you need someone almost that good to consider it. It wouldn't be a situation where you're picking up Carlos Santana and starting him over Freeman.
All right, what about Max Fried, who is hopeful to start this week against the Blue Jays? He's been dealing with a blister since before the All-Star break. Scott, what are you doing with Max Fried this week?
I'm probably starting him. If the Yankees say he's able to start, that's not a guarantee, obviously, that he's able to get through that start. But he's had a little extra rest now. Blisters tend to heal up, and he's Max Fried. He's contending for the Cy Young. I think you got to start him.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll talk about David Robertson. He's finally signed. We'll do that right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Welcome back in FBT Express. The Phillies signed David Robertson to a one-year deal for the rest of this season. He did pitch with the Phillies back in 2022. Robertson is now 40 years old, still very effective last year, a 3 ERA, 111 whip, 12.4 K per nine. Scott, how do you see David Robertson working his way into the Phillies bullpen?
Well, it took him long enough to sign. It's a little surprising he couldn't find an offer to his liking for 4 months, because I'm sure plenty of teams could have used him. Because it's been such a long layoff and he's so old, we don't know for sure what we're getting from David Robertson. He'll have to prove it. But, Matt Strahm, Orion Kerkering, it's not like either of them has really locked down the ninth inning role for the Phillies. Could David Robertson enter that mix? If he does prove it, I would think so. If he looks good, like dominant through 4 or 5 appearances, there's even a chance he just claims the closer role outright. So deeper leagues where saves are scarce might be worth an investment.
All right, next up here, some more injuries. Steven Kwan missed all 3 games this weekend with a wrist injury. He received an injection on Saturday. What are we doing with Steven Kwan this week?
I'd try to sit him if possible. This seems like the sort of injury that could land him on the IL potentially.
All right. What about Nathan Eovaldi? He was scratched Sunday due to tightness in his back. Not clear if he'll need an IL stint. Starter sit Nathan Eovaldi.
Yeah, same thing. Think you got to avoid him.
All right. What about Edward Cabrera, who left his last start with elbow discomfort? Will start Tuesday against the Padres. What do you think about using Edward Cabrera this week?
He was looking good there for a while, and then he struggled in the last start before the elbow issue came up. But hasn't been the most bankable pitcher, obviously, and now he's coming back from the elbow injury. So I don't know. I think I'd play it safe given his track record and given the potential severity of this injury.
All right, Austin Riley ran in the outfield and around the bases on Sunday, and he seems likely to be activated when first eligible on Tuesday. Are you just getting Austin Riley back in your lineups?
I mean, we just talked about all these third basemen going down, and it'd be nice to have one come back. I think in shallow leagues, if you had already picked up a great alternative like an Addison Barger, let's say, maybe you'd play it safe. But the kind of leagues where I have Austin Riley, they're the 15-teamer types, and I'm just plugging him in for those, just trusting it'll be back toward the beginning of the week and that he'll hit the ground running.
And Mookie Betts was given Saturday off to reset, and then he was back in the lineup on Sunday as the leadoff hitter. And it sounds like the plan is for Betts to lead off for the time being. And read an article that acknowledged Mookie Betts' stomach illness at the end of spring training really threw his mechanics off early on in the season, and it's been hard for him to regain his form. The Mookie Betts form that we're used to seeing. This has really kind of spiraled here, Scott. Mookie Betts down to a sub 700 OPS. Is he still just a must-start player?
I think there are enough qualities here that are favorable in enough different formats that I'm having a hard time coming up with a format where you wouldn't start Mookie Betts, because his plate discipline is still great. Points leagues, they tend to be shallower than be the ones where you'd more likely sit him, Betts, but his skill set is so well suited for them. And then you got the fact he's eligible at both shortstop and outfield. That versatility, better chance you need to play at one of those positions. I think you probably just keep starting him, as disappointing as it's been. And well, hopefully he bounces back the last 2 months. If he doesn't, it's going to be a really interesting case for next year, because sure, maybe it was all the long illness and all the lost weight at the start of the season that kicked this off for Betts. That's certainly a reasonable excuse, but it may just be an excuse too. He's turning 33 this offseason. He's never, even at his best, he's had years where he impacted the ball pretty hard, but overall, over the extent of his career, he hasn't been somebody who hits the ball as hard as you'd think for someone who's been as productive as he is. So, how much can he afford to lose there before he becomes pretty ordinary as a hitter? And that may be what we're seeing now for Betts.
All right, for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.